Okay, so we're back. Sorry for the interruption. The app crashed, so we'll have to do again the screen sharing of Tesla's AI AI demo. Hello, Cliff.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, well, I was trying to share the AI day video link you
Oh,
shared with me. Yeah, but
you watched it?
nah, really, it's I got to the first few minutes, but the app crashed, so I'm gonna have to do it again. Um,
You
it
want me to
was
try it?
yeah. Would you like to screen share the clip?
Yeah, I was just watching a good summary of it. It's about 23 minutes. It summarizes the whole presentation. I think it's a good one to go with because the whole one was over 3 hours.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll watch the rest of that later. But I watched the first hour and a half and then got through most of this summary.
Yeah.
But let me
Please. Yes.
try
Please.
here. It's this channel that I follow fairly regular. That it's a Tesla channel from an investor and someone who's really close to the company. So see, it's called Tesla Daily.
Okay.
And he literally does a daily video of what's going on with Tesla and
Can you
their for
can you
investors.
share with me the link too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So John will be getting on board around 10:45.
There's a link in the chat.
Yeah, you'll be joining us in a little while.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to share again this new link of the live stream.
Okay, you want me to share it?
I know I'll do it, but please screen share the AI video. Um, do you have a clip now?
I was waiting for you.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were gonna do it.
Oh, let's see. Where's the? Did you share the? Okay, here's the link.
You
Okay,
want me to start it or try it?
I'll try it. Okay. But the first link you gave me was from TMIO Tesla.
No.
That's I mean that's the first. This is a preview clip.
It's from the Tesla Daily channel.
Okay.
The one I just
Yeah,
sent you in chat.
the new one was the new one is from Tesla Daily. But the first link you shared was from a
Oh,
different.
previously?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was something that was previewing
Mhm.
what they think is going to happen, I believe. I don't even remember which one I sent you, but this is the actual, it's a edited version of the actual presentation by Tesla Daily.
Okay, so I think
It's
I'm
23
ready.
minutes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It covers, the major points and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to do a 3-hour watch party.
Yes. Okay, but 23 minutes is just the right time before we will have John from Malaysia. So
Yeah.
let's do this. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Welcome to Tesla AI Day 2022.
Okay, I got video or an
Got some
audio too.
really exciting things to show you. I think you'll be pretty impressed. I do want to set some expectations with respect to our.
And we can talk during this if you want.
As you know,
Pause it.
last year it was just a person in a robot suit.
Person wrote.
but we've come a long way, and it's
Well, that's a robot, right?
compared to that, it's going to be very impressive. We're going to talk a lot about
Yeah, the
our
one- the
progress in
one
AI,
behind it?
autopilot, as well as the progress with
Right.
No,
Dojo.
person in a robot suit.
We-
That's technically
we
a
bring out
robot, right?
the bot.
Before we do that, we have
Let's see.
one little
We
bonus
are
tip for today.
machines.
This is actually the first
okay.
time we try this robot without any
Sorry,
backup
bad joke.
support, cranes, mechanical
I'm full of
mechanisms,
lots of
no
dad
cables,
jokes.
nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, there are several versions they show. This is more of a mechanical version of it. Show the actuators and all that stuff.
Okay.
But she just said this is the first time they're having it move by itself without being held up or, you know,
Really?
any
We'll see some
protection.
videos now of the robot doing amongst other
Wait,
things.
I'll turn
I
on
wanted
the
to show a
caption.
little bit more what we've done over the past few months with the bot and just walking around and dancing on stage. Just humble beginnings, but
Yeah.
you can see the autopilot neural
Nice.
network running as is, just retrained for the bot directly on that new platform. That's my watering can.
Yeah, when you see a rendered view, that's the robot. That's the world the robot sees. So it's very clearly identifying objects. Like this is the object it should pick up.
We use the same process as we did for autopilot to collect data and train neural networks that we then deploy on the robot. That's an example that illustrates the upper body a little bit more.
And
Something
this
that
is
we'll
really-
try to nail down in a few months, over the next few months, I would say, to perfection.
And that's not the only thing we have to show today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you saw was what we call Bumble C. That's our sort of rough development robot using semi-off-the-shelf actuators. But we actually have gone a step further than that already. The team's done an incredible job. And we actually have an Optimus bot with fully Tesla-designed and built actuators, battery pack, control system, everything. It wasn't quite ready to walk, but I think it will walk in a few weeks. But we wanted to show you the robot, something that's actually fairly close to what will go into production, and show you all the things it can do. So let's bring it out. So here you're seeing Optimus with these are with the degrees of freedom that we expect to have in Optimus Production Unit 1, which is the ability to move all the fingers independently, to have the thumb have 2 degrees of freedom, so it has opposable thumbs, and both left and right hand, so it's able to operate tools and do useful things. Our goal is to make a useful humanoid robot as quickly as possible. And we've also designed it using the same discipline that we use in designing the car, which is to design it for manufacturing such that it's possible to make the robot in high volume at low cost with high reliability. The Optimus is designed to be an extremely capable robot, but made in very high volume, probably ultimately millions of units, and it is expected to cost much less than a car.
I'll just bring it
So,
directly to the right here.
I would say probably less than $20,000 would be my guess. And the potential, like I said, is really boggles the mind, because you have to say, like, what is an economy? An economy is sort of productive entities times their productivity, capita times output, productivity per capita. At the point at which there is not a limitation on capita, it's not clear what an economy even means at that point. An economy becomes quasi-infinite. This means a future of abundance, a future where there is no poverty, where you can have whatever you want in terms of products and services. It really is a fundamental transformation of civilization as we know it. You know, it's very important that the corporate entity that makes this happen is something that the public can properly influence. So I think the Tesla structure is ideal for that.
All right, so you've seen a couple robots today. Let's do a quick timeline recap. So that robot that came out and did the little routine for you guys, we had that within 6 months. Built working on software integration, hardware upgrades over the months since then. But in parallel, we've also been designing the next generation, this one over here. So this guy is rooted in the foundation of sort of the vehicle design process. You know, we're leveraging all of those learnings that we already have. Again, we're using that vehicle design foundation, so we're taking it from concept through design and analysis, and then build and validation. Along the way, we're going to optimize for things like cost and efficiency, because those are critical metrics to take this product to scale eventually. So in the middle of our torso, actually it is the torso, we have our battery pack. This is sized at 2.3 kilowatt hours, which is perfect for about a full day's worth of work. So going on to sort of our brain, it's not in the head, but it's pretty close. Also in our torso, we have our central computer. So as you know, Tesla already ships full self-driving computers in every vehicle we produce. We want to leverage both the autopilot hardware and the software for the humanoid platform, but because it's different in requirements and in form factor, we're going to change a few things first. So we still are it's going to do everything that a human brain does, processing vision data, making split-second decisions based on multiple sensory inputs, and also communications. So to support communications, it's equipped with wireless connectivity as well as audio support. And then it also has hardware-level security features, which are important to protect both the robot and the people around the robot.
So can we utilize our capabilities and our methods from the automotive side to influence a robot? And since we had
So this is where they show how they come up with
to
the
make it fall down,
crash test models using software
falls down. Ideally, it doesn't.
to design the car better.
Superficial damage. So we wanted to dust itself off, get on with the job it's been given.
So our actuator is able to lift a half-ton, 9-foot concert grand piano.
For our robotic hand design, we were inspired by biology. We have 5 fingers and an opposable thumb. Our fingers are driven by metallic tendons that are both flexible and strong. We have the ability to complete wide aperture power grasps while also being optimized for precision gripping of small, thin, and delicate objects.
The ancient Egyptians understood that they could use sound to reduce their weight.
Ads.
Right.
Yeah.
So all those cool things we've shown earlier in the video were possible just in a matter of a few months, thanks to the amazing work that we've done on Autopilot over the past few years. Most of those components ported quite easily
So
over
that
to the
version of
So
the
wait.
bus-
But wait. The actuator or the hand and the fingers can lift like a grand piano.
Yeah, that's what I was
Wow.
saying. The actuators, I don't know about in the hand or not, but they're strong enough to do that
Really.
on somewhere on the robot. I'm not sure which ones.
So the processing unit, the of the brain is in the torso, or was it? Where was it again?
In the upper body.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to that. I don't know if it went. I saw that yet where they have the processor, but the chest is where the battery pack is.
Yes, and also close to that is the processor. So
Yeah, probably.
close to the
because-
head, so not really in the head, but yeah.
Yeah, and this shiny version of it here is what
Yeah.
Tesla designed with their own engineers.
Mhm.
The first robot you saw is stuff that they used that was more generic parts,
Mhm.
and it was more to show how the robot functions. But this is going to be more of a finished version of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it won't have any moving parts showing or wires. It'll just be more like the first AI Day model that they showed.
So he mentioned about the point where economy would be hard to describe already. There's just abundance.
Yeah,
And at first they're gonna produce like millions of these, and then but they're gonna cost about $20,000 each. But how do we transition to that kind of abundance if people can't afford?
Well, it's new technology, and you always see that with new technology. It starts expensive,
Expensive, yes.
and only the more well-off people can afford them. But that funds the product or the product line and allows more massive production. And then there's a law that can track the cost of producing something. And it's similar, it's kind of like a Moore's law type of thing. It's similar to that, but it's different, and it has to do with manufacturing and the price dropping the more you produce of a unit.
Yeah, I'm so
I do know the name of it, but it escapes me. I'll think of it. Wright's law is what it's called.
what?
The Wright's law tracks how things get cheaper and cheaper the more of them you manufacture. And this will be the same like anything else. Just like when flat screen televisions first came out in the US, they were like $30,000 or something like that. And this is in the early 2000s or late 90s, I forget. And now you can get 40-inch televisions for $500 or less. So
Nice, yeah, okay.
that's Wright's law that tracks that. But
Okay, so let's continue here. They were showing this mechanism or the technology for the what you call it, when the car crashes, it's the bag, the airbag, right? And so there's that kind of sort of that kind of principle or mechanism in the bot. So when it falls somehow.
Yeah, it's different. They're not putting anything like that in the robot.
No, not really, but there's
they're
like
showing how
the logic in the software is quite the same.
Yeah, and they explain how what they're doing is they're transferring the technology in the car to a human form.
Yes. So this is Tesla in the humanoid platform.
Yeah, much of it, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Without the wheels.
Without the wheels. Okay.
Hands and feet instead of wheels.
Possible just in a matter
Gripping of small,
That's,
thin, and delicate objects.
All right. So all those cool things we've shown earlier in the video were possible just in a matter of a few months, thanks to the amazing work that we've done on Autopilot over the past few years. Most of those components ported quite easily over to the bot's environment. If you think about it, we're just moving from a robot on wheels to a robot on legs. So some of the components are pretty similar, and some other require more heavy lifting. So for example, our computer vision neural networks were ported directly from Autopilot to the bot's situation. We're also trying to find ways to improve those occupancy networks using work made on neural radiance fields to get really great volumetric rendering of the bot's environments. For example, here, some machinery that the bot might have to interact with. Another interesting problem to think about is, in indoor environments, mostly with absence of GPS signal, how do you get the bot to navigate to its destination? So we've been training more neural networks to identify high-frequency features, key points within the bot's camera streams, and track them across frames over time as the bot navigates through its environment. And we're using those points to get a better estimate of the bot's pose and trajectory within its environment as it's walking. And this is a video of the motion control code running in the Autopilot simulator, showing the evolution of the robot's walk over time. And so as you can see, we started quite slowly in April and started accelerating as we unlock more joints and deploy more advanced techniques like arms balancing over the past few months.
So it looks more
by now you guys got a good idea.
normal now.
Yeah.
If you watched when it first started walking, it was kind of hunched and kind of awkward and robotic. Now it's looking more fluid.
Yeah. They unlock more joints and
Yeah, it'll just keep improving every year.
yeah, and they've only You've only gone for like a year or so.
Yeah, it's like a
You
year
already
they've been
have
doing-
you already have this.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And well, how many on the team?
I don't know, but it's a small team at Tesla, probably a few dozen.
We've been up to over the past few months. We started having something that's usable, but it's far from being useful. There's still a long and exciting road ahead of us. I think the first thing within the next few weeks is to get Optimus at least at par with Bumblebee, the other bot prototype you saw earlier, and probably beyond. We also
Notice how they call it Bumblebee.
Yeah, not Bumblebee. I got Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Use case at one of our factories, and really going to try to nail this down and iron out all the elements needed to deploy this product in the real world. I was mentioning earlier, indoor navigation, graceful fall management, or even servicing, all components needed to scale this product up.
So
But,
can you hit pause real quick? I just thought of, Hollywood and culture in relation to this. And saw, if you look at the robot, you can see it's it looks like two shiny eyes.
Yeah.
So you could see somebody who was raised watching Terminator and stuff, if they're looking at this on
it's like-
stage.
yes.
You look at that and go, whoa, Terminator.
Yeah.
Or if you're someone raised in Japan or some other country that doesn't
Samurai.
have Terminator.
Samurai.
Well, no, in Japan, they have robot toys that kids grow up with. I remember seeing them. And, my brother was, he actually spoke Japanese and was there. We were there for a year or two. And he used to have these little robot toys, and they were like superheroes over there. And they see them as friendly things that help you and that are good, and they're fascinated by it. Because they don't have the movies that we have over here. They don't have the art form, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in America, this might look like Terminator, but to someone from a different culture, this looks like your housemaid or a superhero, something that you look up to or that is amazing, that flies around and saves people, rather than shoots them with laser guns. So it was just something that came to mind that has to do with culture.
Yeah.
But after seeing what we've shown tonight, I'm pretty sure we can get this done within the next few months or years, and make this product a reality and change the entire economy. So I would like to thank the entire Optimus team for all their hard work over the past few months. I think it's pretty amazing. All of this was done in barely 6 or 8 months. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ashok. I lead the Autopilot team alongside Milan. This time around last year, we had roughly 2,000 cars driving our FSD beta software. Since then, we have significantly improved the software's robustness and capability that we have now shipped it to 160,000 customers as of today. For example, we trained 75,000 neural network models just last 1 year. That's roughly a model every 8 minutes that's coming out of the team. And then we evaluate them on our large clusters. And then we ship 281 of those models that actually improve the performance of the car. And this pace of innovation is happening throughout the stack. The planning software, the infrastructure, the tools, even hiring, everything is progressing to the next level.
Let's use this intersection scenario to dive straight into how we do the planning and decision making in Autopilot. So we are approaching this intersection from a side street, and we have to yield to all the crossing vehicles. Right as we are about to enter the intersection, the pedestrian on the other side of the intersection decides to cross the road without a crosswalk. Now, we need to yield to this pedestrian, yield to the vehicles from the right, and also understand the relation between the pedestrian and the vehicle on the other side of the intersection.
What happens when we mash up the metaverse, digital?
It's a lot of these
The metaverse.
dependencies that we need to resolve in a quick glance. And humans are really good at this. We look at a scene understand all the possible interactions, evaluate the most promising ones, and generally end up choosing a reasonable one. But the same framework extends to objects behind occlusions. We use the video feed from 8 cameras to generate the 3D occupancy of the board.
This is showing how the cars predict what's going to happen, what people are going to do in their cars to drive safely. And down below, you see what it's like a model of the world around them, what it's seeing on their cameras and how it interprets those things. So you can see when this car drives to the left of the screen, you'll see it in the bottom as a blocky looking object.
Yeah. Nice. So they're using the CCTV system.
They're using what?
The CCTV system of a city or.
I don't know if they're using that. They're using a camera model. Their whole
oh, they got their
self-driving.
Yes, I mean, okay.
Yeah, if you look at any Tesla, it's well hidden, but there's like 6 cameras. There's cameras up front, right by the drivers, the A pillar.
So that's all they need. Like the car's own camera, and they're not dependent on like the city planning or whatever the structures.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point to bring up, which is different from Tesla or different from the rest of the world, the way they do it. And Elon's been talking about this for years, saying that all the companies, there's a handful of other companies trying to solve this problem of full self-driving, and all the other ones are using different types of radars and LiDAR, which are, in his opinion, not ever gonna work as well, because to some degree you have to map out your streets and so on. It just takes a still shot in a sense of what the streets are and so on. It doesn't have a way of accounting for rapid changes that are going on, because everything changes in the real world. So you need a car, if you're going to have a full self-driving car, that sees and reacts to things just like a human brain does. Only it's a machine and can do it far, far better and faster. And it can see 360 degrees all around it. And their cars can do that. I've seen plenty of videos now where when the car senses danger, it'll make a beeping sound. It'll dee-dee-dee. And I've seen videos that you can look them up to where a person is driving on the highway or a street, for instance, and you hear the car beep, and it does it before anything happens. It's predicting the car in front of it about to hit something. It's predicting an accident before it happens, and not even necessarily with its own vehicle, with the driver of the vehicle. So these cars can see in some ways around other cars, and it sees all around itself. And they use nothing but cameras. I think that might be changing. They might be adding something to it, some form of radar. But the primary way that it sees its environment and moves around is cameras. Only it can see through fog and through the dark and so on like that. It has better vision than we do. But it's able to predict what's the curve in the road going to be, how much is it going to curve, what's this other car going to do, these other cars, everything's moving constantly. So they're training it. That's why they call this thing dojo. Their neural network is dojo, because it's being fed all this data from all of their cars, and it's been doing it since day one. So they have billions of driving miles of data that they've used to train this machine, so to speak. It's like a machine in the cloud that's being fed just tons of terabytes of data on what happens in the real world when you're driving on the streets. So they're fundamentally different than the rest of the full self-driving companies.
So the
like
more,
Waymo.
this is machine learning, right? This is how they do
Yeah.
it. The
Yeah, it's
more
machine
data you
learning.
feed, the more data you
Mhm.
feed to the computer, the more options or choices or possibilities you can choose or
Yeah,
base its movements on.
yeah,
So we just use human terms to refer to that. It's like machine learning, as if there. They operate differently though. Is they got circuitry instead of biological nerves and veins and tissues and all that. It's the material. It's different. But what really is happening here is they're kind of simulating human processes or biological processes.
Yeah, that's what AI researchers do, is they're trying to simulate a human brain. They're taking 2 or 3 different approaches to doing it, but that's something that Ray Kurzweil wrote about, like we talked about last week in his How to Build a Brain book. Is he shows the layers of how the software, so to speak, in our brain works, and it's just it's like a hierarchy. You have all the basic stuff at the bottom, and then you have a layer over that, which is that same thing with a slight change, and then a slight change on that. But it's all slight changes on a hierarchical scale.
Yeah.
And that's how our brain works. They figured it out, and they can recreate that in a machine that's metal and silicon and so on, instead of brain matter and bone and tissue and blood. So there's what Ray Kurzweil says is essentially, it doesn't matter what the medium is that you're creating the brain in. It can be human form, but you can recreate that in machine form too. And when you look at the brain case of a human being and how much our brains have grown and evolved, the frontal part of our brain up here is what makes us human, what makes us able to do all this advanced thinking, right? And if you look at the prefrontal cortex, they call that. That's the human part of the brain. It goes back further and further till you get to the back, the stem. And that's the reptile brain. That's the oldest part of the brain, right? And so a lot of, reptiles and mammals and stuff, they have that, but then they have a little bit more towards the front. But we have the most developed forebrain up front. And they know that that's what allows us to think creatively, learn languages, do all this subtle pattern recognition. And if you look at even chimpanzees and apes, they're the closest relatives to us, right? A chimpanzee is 98% the same DNA as us. But if you look at their head, they have a brow ridge, and then it kind of slopes back. They don't have as much prefrontal brain as we do. So that's the difference, and it's only 2% of our DNA different from them. But that's, according to scientists, what makes us human, is we have a more developed forebrain that allows us all this capability and language. And then on top of that, we have hands that can, move and do fine. I can play the guitar without this brain and, the right body parts. You can't do any of that stuff. We could, turn screws and manipulate the world with our hands and create art and build, tools and so on. That's what sets us apart. But chimpanzees and other apes, they have similar hands, but they don't have the brain up here that we have quite yet. Move forward another 100,000 years, and you never know. You might have chimpanzees that can start to talk, but not right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's nice to
And
work with these kinds of people.
Yeah,
It's cool to have this kind of job, the kind of job they have.
yeah, this is like the most advanced technology being developed in the world right now, other than maybe even more than semiconductors, you know. And I was going to say also that the talking thing, that's also another thing we developed that allows us to speak, is our voice box is different. So there's all these little evolutions that have happened to make people what we call human today.
Some people would say it's hard, you know, or wouldn't believe or wouldn't think that, you know, we come from, or apes are our cousins or something like that. Like the same species evolving into a human being, like, you know, like all of the matter in an ape, for example, can be traced to, you know, this most evolved form or species that came from the ape species. And I mean, like, because when an ape disintegrates, you know, the particles just mix with other particles from other animals, and so I think the point some people are making is that, I mean, I would understand what they're coming from if that's the logic there, because the evolution doesn't happen linearly. So, but I would probably say something along the lines of, you know, the particles of an ape just mixed with other particles from other animals or whatever, you know, and evolve into something else. Because evolution cannot be exclusive to just a species, and you know, maintain its or account for all the particles coming from the old stage of that animal or animals evolution. So I don't know if you've come across some talks on YouTube that say some, you know, to mention something about evolution being mathematically impossible. That kind of evolution. So we may have to rethink things about that too, because we tend to think in linear terms here, like, you know, things happening in a sequential manner and all that. So like linear manner. So that's kind of problematic. Hey, John.
Yeah, it's how we evolved.
Yes.
To think linearly. That's a big topic of Ray Kurzweil.
Hey, John. How's it going? Hello, can you hear us?
I don't hear him yet or see him.
I think it just needs to adjust the audio or something. Hello? Hello, John. So you're seeing a screen sharing here. Let me stop this for a while. Hello? Can you see us now?
Now I see him. Hey, John.
Hey.
How are you?
Hello? Can you hear us?
I don't think he hears us. No, he doesn't.
Okay, what's wrong? What do you think is wrong with the?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
Now-
we can hear it
now
now.
we hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, good. I guess you had
Okay.
everything muted.
Yeah.
Well, good to have you here finally. We were just sharing this really cool video of Tesla's AI robot. They
Right.
finally launched it, but of course the development is still ongoing, and it's going pretty fast also. Like they've done this in like 6 to 8 months only. And we're just in the middle of the video, I think. But
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you want to just continue with the video first?
Oh, we were just talking actually when you came in, so we'll continue and we can keep talking and pausing it whenever we
Yeah.
want.
so you can watch the rest of the video, on
I'll
your
watch
own
the
time.
recording.
Yes, okay. Let me share this again.
This is a summary of their 3-hour presentation from a popular YouTube channel that I follow.
Mhm. Okay.
Typically gets blocked at the first occlusion you see in the scene. We consume this visibility mask to generate what we call as ghost objects, which you can see on the top left.
Now I
if
only
we
see
model
you,
the spawn
Stephen.
region And the state transitions.
You don't
of this
see
ghost
me? I'm
object
sorry.
correctly,
No, I only see you, but I don't see
your
John.
Control response
Okay,
as a
that's
function
okay.
of the
I mean, it must be your setting on. So that's going to be like the right panel on your screen, right?
Yeah, I see you in a little panel on the side, but
Yes.
it's okay.
It's okay. It's just the setting you have there. So
Yeah,
okay.
That's-
Let's back this up a little bit.
okay.
Okay, here, somewhere.
We stopped it at 12,
Yeah,
about
but
12 and a half minutes.
okay, here.
from 8 cameras to generate the 3D occupancy of the world.
Okay,
And humans are really good at this.
wait.
Also understand the relation of how we do the planning and decision making
Yes,
in
here.
autopilot. So we are approaching this intersection from a side street, and we have to yield to all the crossing vehicles. Right as we are about to enter the intersection, the pedestrian on the other side of the intersection decides to cross the road without a crosswalk. Now, we need to yield to this pedestrian, yield to the vehicles from the right, and also understand the relation between the pedestrian and the vehicle on the other side of the intersection. So a lot of these intra-object dependencies that we need to resolve in a quick glance. And humans are really good at this. We look at a scene, understand all the possible interactions, evaluate the most promising ones, and generally end up choosing a reasonable one. But the same framework extends to objects behind occlusions. We use the video feed from 8 cameras to generate the 3D occupancy of the world. The blue mask here corresponds to the visibility region, we call it. It basically gets blocked at the first occlusion you see in the scene. We consume this visibility mask to generate what we call as ghost objects, which you can see on the top left. Now, if you model the spawn regions and the state transitions of these ghost objects correctly, if you tune your control response as a function of their existence likelihood, you can extract some really nice human-like behaviors. Now I'll pass it on to Phil to describe more on how we generate these occupancy networks.
The occupancy network takes video streams of all our 8 cameras as input, produces a single unified volumetric occupancy in vector space directly. For every 3D location around our car, it predicts the probability of that location being occupied or not.
Let's talk about some training infrastructure. So we've seen a couple of videos, 4 or 5. I think and care more and worry more about a lot more clips than that. So we've been looking at the occupancy networks just from Phil. Just Phil's videos, it takes 1.4 billion frames to train that network, what you just saw. And if you have 100,000 GPUs, it would take 1 hour. But if you have one GPU, it would take 100,000 hours. So that is not a humane time period that you can wait for your training job to run, right? We want to ship faster than that. So that means you're going to need to go parallel. So you need more compute for that. That means you're going to need a supercomputer. So this is why we've built in-house 3 supercomputers comprising of 14,000 GPUs, where we use 10,000 GPUs for training and around 4,000 GPUs for auto-labeling. So I could go on and on.
This is what we're going to call Skynet. That's Skynet.
Wow, really?
You could say, no. That's their supercomputer, just a massive, that's what's processing all this data that it's being fed by all their cars.
So, but you mentioned Skynet, right?
Jokingly, yeah, that's what people would say, look, that's Skynet. It's going to take over. But that's not reality.
Wait. Were you referencing Terminator or something? What?
Oh, yeah. Over here, Skynet is like, well, Terminator is so well known that Skynet is the AI that's going to enslave humanity. You know, that's what's running all the machines.
Thank you.
So,
wow, 10,000 GPUs for training. And for just auto labeling, the 14,000 GPUs they have for their supercomputer. Use 10,000 for training, and just 4,000 for the auto labeling.
What's the average GPU for a supercomputer?
What they have is 16. They have 16,000. So I don't know. Yes.
Touched on 2 projects that we have internally, but this is actually part of a huge continuous effort to optimize the compute that we have in-house. So accumulating and aggregating through all these optimizations, we now train our occupancy networks twice as fast just because it's twice as efficient. And now if we add in a bunch more compute and go parallel, we can now train this in hours instead of days. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to the biggest user of compute, John.
Hi, everybody. My name is John Emmons. I lead the Autopilot Vision team. I'm going to cover 2 topics with you today. The first is how we predict lanes, and the second is how we predict the future behavior of other agents on the road. All right, so ultimately...
They have a vision team that refers to the camera system they use, not just making a static map of the streets and then having it trace over the same path.
Yeah.
The vision team is showing, they're developing the car's ability to see the world changing around it and change and adapt to it on the fly, live.
Yes. Wow. Google has been developing its own auto driving machine.
Yeah, they have. I think they bought out or started a company called Waymo. That's been trying to do that, and I believe they use LiDAR, and it's more of a mapping system. It's not a live vision system like this.
Yeah, because you got Google Maps, right? Or Street Maps. Or...
Yeah, they've been testing it for years in a limited area, but you have to know the area, and I don't know how well it can adapt to changes.
Yes,
it's like a static thing, you know. The world's not static. It has to be able to see and adjust instantly.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to like do it all over again to update the visuals, because they have like just a static view of things.
I don't know. It's probably not that simple. I'm not an AI expert, but
no, I mean like Google, what they're doing at Google, or Waymo, because it's not live, right? Otherwise, if you have just the 8 cameras and the cars is reacting to the actual situation, on the fly, like you said. So
yeah, well, it's it's not probably not totally static because they're using LiDAR. And LiDAR is just sending out a signal and then getting it to bounce back in order to tell. It's like how a bat can fly around at night and see its
sonar.
environment. Yeah, it's like sonar. But still, I don't know if it would ever be able to do what this is doing, seeing all around it and adapting to changes on the fly.
Yeah. Okay.
In their connectivities, which comes directly from the network. There's no additional step here for sparsifying these, dense predictions into sparse ones. This is just the direct, unfiltered output of the network. Okay, so I talked a little bit about lanes. I'm going to briefly touch on how we model and predict the future paths and other semantics on objects. So I'm just going to go really quickly through two examples. The video on the right here, we've got a car that's actually running a red light and turning in front of us. What we do to handle situations like this is we predict a set of short time horizon future trajectories on all objects. We can use these to anticipate the dangerous situation here and apply whatever braking and steering actions required to avoid a collision. So putting it all together, the Autopilot Vision Stack predicts more than just the geometry and kinematics of the world. It also predicts a rich set of semantics, which enables safe and human-like driving.
The practice you are about to learn is almost never described.
Let's talk about auto labeling.
Wait, semantics in autopilot. Wow, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know if they mean actual semantics, but
yeah, but it should be like a tech term now.
yeah, I think they mean semantics as far as how humans drive, the actions that they take. It's a different form of semantics.
Like possibilities, scenarios.
Yeah.
Maybe because in language semantics, we got like different uses, different meanings, and stuff. So scenarios.
Yeah.
Different, possibilities or something. That's nice. That's a nice use of. That's a nice semantic use of semantics.
It's very semantic. This word semantic.
Yes. Joe, what do you say about semantics?
Oh, I think in this case, it's about predictability, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you encounter problems in the actual language of semantics that in everyday language?
Yes, I mean, I live in Malaysia, and we are multilingual society, so everyone speaks English, Chinese, and Malay. So language itself, it's a good thing that people are able to communicate using any one of these three with each other. But when it comes to semantics, like in the actual use of the words and the meaning of it, it can get a little bit confusing, especially in the fields of politics. If you listen to how politicians speak around here, it's really a disgrace.
So they're basically what? There are two kinds of semantics, right? Cliff? And there's a term for the language used by politicians and whatever to control people. I forget the phrase now, but someone like Almerson, Dr. Almerson, always tells me this, the tyranny of language.
Well,
tyranny of words.
Words.
Yeah. If you have
but this is not just semantics. This is really language in general. Fresco would say that, you know, language is used to control people, to make people do stuff. It's a control tool. Like money is a control tool, but also language is a control tool.
Or Chomsky used to say, you know, language is used to manufacture consent.
Yeah.
Through advertising. Yep.
Yeah. Well, so politicians are great semantic
manipulators.
Manipulators.
Nothing more to it.
I like to say the art of a politician is to twist perceptions with words.
They're great social engineers themselves.
Yep. Confuse,
Yeah.
divide, conquer.
Yeah. So they're just engineering people and cultures, and you know, to get what they want. But can we blame them? It's you know, it's the culture we have. It's our indoctrination. It's their indoctrination.
Well, the question is whether are they aware of it, and is there intent? You know, if you do it intentionally, just to manufacture consent and manipulate the situation for your own benefit, then obviously, you know, you can be blamed for doing such a thing. I don't think there's any politicians that speaks without a purpose. It's a question of what purpose is set forth.
Yeah. Well, we all do have a purpose, right? In doing things, what we do.
Yeah.
Or for doing, you know, what we do. But well, within, I think, within the same context of society or socioeconomic system, there's punishment. The system is punitive, like Clifton would say. So
if you just follow what a politician's motives might be, and look at what is the reward system that we have, and if you look at what a politician does, it makes sense. You know, they're spending most of their time raising money because they need money to function and do their job.
yeah, they need sponsors. They need big corporations, and
Yeah.
so they themselves are part owners of corporations. So.
Yeah. So their motivation is keep their position, do what's best for their party in order to fight the other party, at least in our two-party system. And they're trying to manufacture support from the public, and the currency they use is words and money to do that. And if they can keep their job and do what their constituents want in order to keep them secure and help their party and make a lot of money doing it, then that's what they do. And everything they do is in service to those things. And they use words to do that with.
Yeah.
So there's one word for that, to sum it up. It's just corruption.
Well, I mean, what do you expect?
Or you could say that's just how it works. And
that's how it works. Yeah.
That's the game they're all playing. They're all playing the same game. They all know what each other's doing. Just like in business, they all know what the competition's doing. It's just, that's their reality, and they're embedded in it. They're fully absorbed.
They're going to do what they have to do to one up the other, you know.
Yeah.
To survive, to win the game.
Yeah, I would say that that is their reality, but certainly not mine. But that really is their reality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a big competition, and their goal is to win, not necessarily change things or do what's good for you. It's to win.
To maintain the status quo or
And
better their position.
but a lot to do with background.
Of course.
I used to go to a private school, and there are some classmates of mine that their parents are pretty prominent politicians, opposition politicians. So we've seen it all. I mean, how the kids get caught up with what the parents are doing in politics and their campaign, and how they get emotionally involved if the parents are. I remember one guy had his dad put in jail for speaking out against the government, opposition leader. So it's all kinds of emotional attachment, background, loyalty to the cause, and now he's a politician. He became the Minister of Communications a couple of years ago.
Yeah. When it comes to politics and business, they're tied together. They're both one and the same, because if any industry group, like a PAC, a political action committee, any kind of lobbyist gives money to a politician, it's not a donation. They're not just being nice. They're giving money and they're buying something. That's how money works. You buy something when you give it away. And in politics, the thing they're buying is votes. They're buying that person's influence that they have in the government. That's the game of politics. It's money for favors. And that's it. It's very subtle in different ways, but it's all buying influence. And that's what lobbying is.
John, are you actually sitting on the floor now?
Yeah, I am.
Very comfortable.
Yeah. No, because
Nice.
I don't have a proper desk at home. It's all taken up by my kids.
Oh, okay.
I have 3 kids, so I usually use the coffee table in the living room or the dining table.
It's a rough life.
You don't have something to support your back, though.
No, I've been fine sitting on the couch for the last couple of hours.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, so we'll continue with the rest of the clip here. Let's see.
So we have several kinds of auto labeling frameworks to support various types of networks. But today, I'd like to focus on the awesome LanesNet here. This machine easily scales as long as we have available compute and trip data. So about 50 trips were newly auto-labeled from this scene, and some of them are shown here. So 50 trips from different vehicles. So this is how we capture and transform the space-time slices of the world into the network supervision.
Take, for example, the simulated scene playing behind me. A complex intersection from Market Street in San Francisco. It would take 2 weeks for artists to complete. And for us, that is painfully slow. However, I'm going to talk about using Yagen's automated ground truth labels along with some brand new tooling that allows us to procedurally generate this scene and many like it in just 5 minutes. That's an amazing 1,000 times faster than before. And this really sets us up for size and scale. And as you can see on the map behind us, we can easily generate most of San Francisco city streets. And this didn't take years or even months of work, but rather 2 weeks by one person. And now, to come full circle, because we generated all these tile sets from ground truth data They contain all the weird intricacies from the real world, and we can combine that with the procedural, visual, and traffic variety to create limitless, targeted data for the network to learn from. And that concludes the sim section. I'll pass it to Kate to talk about how we can use all this data to improve autopilot. Thank you.
This data engine framework applies to all our signals, whether they're 3D, multicam video, whether the data is human-labeled, auto-labeled, or simulated, whether it's an offline model or an online model. And Tesla's able to do this at scale because of the fleet advantage, the infra that our Eng team has built, and the labeling resources that feed our networks. To train on all this data, we need a massive amount of compute, so I'll hand it off to Pete and Ganesh to talk about the Dojo supercomputing platform.
I'm frequently asked, why is a car company building a supercomputer for training? And this question fundamentally misunderstands the nature of Tesla. At its heart, Tesla is a hardcore technology company. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Dojo and give you an update on what we've been able to do over the last year.
Now last year, we showcased our first functional training tile. And at that time, we already had workloads running on it. And since then, the team here has been working hard and diligently to deploy this at scale. Now we've made amazing progress and had a lot of milestones along the way. And of course, we've had a lot of unexpected challenges. But this is where our fail fast philosophy has allowed us to push our boundaries. Now, by focusing on density at every level, we can realize the vision of a single accelerator. Now, starting with the uniform nodes on our custom D1 die, we can connect them together in our fully integrated training tile, and then finally, seamlessly connecting them across cabinet boundaries to form our Dojo accelerator.
Leonardo da Vinci seems to have encrypted the Great Pyramid of Giza into the Vitruvius.
And altogether, we can house 2 full accelerators in our exapod for a combined 1 exaflop of ML compute. Now, altogether, this amount of technology and integration has only ever been done a couple of times in the history of compute. Next, we'll see how software can leverage this to accelerate their performance.
Die local reduction, followed by global reduction towards the middle of the tie, then the reduced value broadcast radiating from the middle, accelerated by the hardware's broadcast facility. This operation takes only 5 microseconds on 25 Dojo dice. The same operation takes 150 microseconds on 24 GPUs. This is an orders of magnitude improvement over GPUs. So how do we do on these 2 networks? The results we're about to see were measured on multi-die systems for both the GPU and Dojo, but normalized to per die numbers. On our auto-labeling network, we're already able to surpass the performance of an A100 with our current hardware running on our older generation VRMs. On our production hardware with our newer VRM, that translates to doubling the throughput of an A100. And our model showed that with some key compiler optimizations, we could get to more than 3x the performance of an A100. We see even bigger leaps on the occupancy network. Almost 3x with our production hardware, with room for more. And this Dojo tile costs less than 1 of these GPU boxes. What it really means is that networks that took more than a month to train now take less than a week. So we started with hardware design that breaks through traditional integration boundaries in service of our vision of a single giant accelerator. We've seen how the compiler and ingest layers build on top of that hardware. So after proving our performance on these complex real-world networks, we knew what our first large-scale deployment would target, our high arithmetic intensity auto-labeling networks. Today, that occupies 4,000 GPUs over 72 GPU racks. With our dense compute and our high performance, we expect to provide the same throughput with just 4 Dojo cabinets. And these 4 Dojo cabinets will be part of our first exapod that we plan to build by Q1 of 2023. This will more than double Tesla's auto-labeling capacity. The first exapod is part of a total of 7 exapods that we plan to build in Palo Alto right here across the wall. And we have a display cabinet from one of these exapods for everyone to look at. 6 tiles densely packed on a tray, 54 petaflops of compute, 640 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory with power and host to feed it.
We really wanted to show the depth and
Wish
breadth
I had
of
that at
Tesla
home.
What?
artificial intelligence.
How what?
I wish I had that at home. Imagine the
gonna do
games
with
you
it?
could play. I could play Fortnite.
Games, accelerators, GPUs, the dojo.
Yeah, I could have my own AI system
Yes.
and take over the world.
Oh, Skynet.
Intelligence, compute hardware, robotics actuators, and try to really shift the perception of the company away from, a lot of people think we're like just a car company or we make cool cars, whatever, but they don't have, most people have no idea that Tesla is arguably the leader in real-world AI hardware and software, and that we're building what is arguably the first, the most radical computer architecture since the Cray 1 supercomputer. And I think if you're interested in developing some of the most advanced technology in the world that's going to really affect the world in a positive way, Tesla's the place to be.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
That's this 23-minute summary. Some of that stuff was pretty technical, but they do these things not just to show the public, but primarily to recruit AI engineers from college and in the industry to come to Tesla to help them with what they're doing.
Wow.
So some of that stuff is a little over people's heads and mine too, but they're doing some cool stuff to get more people to come to them and stay way ahead of
That's really
anyone
interesting
else.
stuff,
Yeah.
I would love to, if I had the time, just
Yeah.
the things
I
that
would-
we'd love to do,
Yeah. Yeah, I've been wanting to drive one of their cars for a while, and it's eventually going to happen, but not right now. But I keep up with what's going on there because I'm an investor, but I became an investor after being a fan of what they're doing, because their goal, if you ever look at their website or whatnot, or follow them, their goal is to accelerate the transition to renewable energy in the world. They're not just a company trying to get market
like
share.
or like he mentioned earlier, to transition into abundance.
Yeah, well, Musk has just started talking about the world of abundance and saying these things. I've noticed he's shifted to now becoming more open about this stuff. And at first he was just talking about the need for universal basic income. About 2 years ago, he started talking about that. Now he's talking about it's going to be a world of abundance. We're going to have things so cheap it'll be ridiculous. There will be no more. It'll change what it means to have an economy. All these very Fresconian concepts.
We're
He's
gonna
starting
have
to talk
to
openly about now.
yeah, we're gonna have to tap him for maybe, I don't know, for funding the first city or something.
Maybe he's secretly behind Jacques and Roxanne.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of that? No. It actually is just, it's inevitable. He's seeing where technology is going, where other people are not, and he's openly talking about it.
Yeah, for a man of his stature and brains, I mean, like Bill Gates and others, can they not really look at something like the Venus Project or resource-based economy? I mean, for all we know, they've been just what you call it, picking some ideas here and there from Fresco.
I think a lot of people know about it. You know, they just don't talk about it openly. But like what Cliff is saying, it's kind of inevitable because sooner or later, almost everything is going to be automated, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's gonna displace people, and people are scared of that. People are scared of losing their jobs. It's natural. I'm scared of losing my job.
Well, you only have to be scared because the outdated leaders are still around.
Yeah, you're only scared because it could disrupt your ability to pay your bills and eat food and have a place to live. If that wasn't there, your job wouldn't be scary if it went away.
Yep.
So that just goes back to what we always talk about. It's a matter of having access to things, having access to your basic needs. And right now, the whole paradigm is you need money in order to buy access to things and buy food and the things you need, and those are tied to your well-being and your health. And without the job, you don't have the money. Without the money, you don't have the stuff. And it's all tied together. So if you disconnect those things, and all of a sudden you're in a reality where you have robots doing work for people, you have centers you can go to that give you access to whatever you need for food. When utilities start becoming free, now all of a sudden you need less money to buy the things you need, because why spend money if you already have it?
Like, I am thinking, what if Fresco had the money back in the day? He could have done so much more, right?
Yeah.
If he had some funding from somebody, someone rich, because he cannot do it on his own, focus his energy and time on making money. It's not that kind of guy. So
yeah, that's something I think would help TVP's goals tremendously, is if they had either funding from the outside or the ability to fund themselves. And I think funding yourself is better, because just like in politics, if you have people giving you money and funding your project, then they're also going to want control of it and to make decisions, and it could lead to who knows what. And that's why I think they've clung so much to maintaining total control of what TVP represents. And we should probably say that we're not representatives of TVP, we're volunteers, so this appearance may not precisely reflect the views of the Venus Project, but we volunteer, at least John and I, for TVP Support, which is a separate organization that's just trying to work on behalf of TVP. But we've seen some of the inner workings of what they're doing, and we know some of us have been there and seen the archives and the models and the sites and so on. So people take this idea in all kinds of directions when they hear about TVP, and they think that we're proposing starting a commune somewhere, our own little community.
Or they think we're communists.
Yeah, they think this is just communism, but modern new age communism. They don't understand the fundamentals, that this is changing what it means to have a government and an economy. And the way to do it is, we propose that you take science, which is the best tool we have, science and engineering, and apply it directly to the social system itself and the economy to arrive at decisions, not use money to have politicians make decisions and you have all of these conflicts of interest. This is more of a meritocracy than a democracy. And it's based on the methods of science and engineering. And the goal is to create a world of sustainability and abundance for all people, because abundance is the solution to most of the world's problems. Right? We have scarcity, which you can trace back to most of our problems. And the solution to that is give people abundance, meet their needs, and most of the problems you see in the world that have gone on for centuries will go away slowly or quickly.
Yeah, well, that's one possible scenario. But I agree with Cliff when you say that, you know, people are taking the idea of TVP in different directions.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, companies like Microsoft and Tesla are doing it, but within the monetary system, it is still very profit-centric. It's done for profit. I think one of the most important things that Fresco has shown the world, it's basically what the potential of the future can be.
Yeah.
In a world that has a system like a resource-based economy. It may not be exactly as how we are learning it to be, but it should be heading in that direction in a world of abundance, automation, and socio-economic system that is run based on the methods of science, which I think it's very logical and it's easy to understand. Basically, evolution takes time.
Yeah. And these other companies that you spoke of, I don't think they're trying to achieve an RBE. They're just doing what they have available to them. They're trying to do what all businesses do, which is grow and survive and keep on expanding.
It's a lot of short-term goals that you see nowadays, you know?
Yeah.
Really short-term goals. And yeah, you can only do that if you're driven by a certain background. That's all I can say. You know,
yeah.
If you don't learn how to detach with those old values, you're going to be continuously driven by the background. And if you put yourself in an environment that perpetuate that background, it's difficult to get away. I mean, if you work in Silicon Valley, how many people are going to talk about an RBE or moneyless society? It's not going to happen. You know.
Yeah. Their reality is all framed within business, like all these startups and these people from Silicon Valley. That's their reality. That's the only way they know to make changes in the world, because that's the economic model we live in. So it's very hard for any of those people to see those things, but certain individuals are looking at the way technology is going and are part of this group of people who see, okay, automation is making things cheaper and more abundant every year. What's that eventually going to lead to? And they can see down the road. And people like Peter Diamandis and the Singularity University, those people, the guy that wrote the book Abundance, and certain Silicon Valley people like Elon are seeing where this is leading to and saying, hey, look, this whole thing we got going here, it's been great, but it's causing our air to be polluted and climate change. And on top of that, it's not going to last, because look what it's leading to, and which is automation and the ultimate reduction in cost of things. It can be traced, it can be tracked, like we were talking about earlier with with Wright's law, things are getting cheaper and more abundant naturally. So what's going to happen when everything becomes automated and people don't have jobs and there's nothing to replace the old jobs like we had before? Everything went from working in factories to being service driven. The service industry replaced a lot of the manufacturing because of automation, right? And we can manufacture more and more now for less, with less and less people. So what are people going to do eventually when AI starts taking jobs from doctors and lawyers and, anyone in finance? That's, there's a lot of service industry jobs out there that could be replaced right now with AI and machines. But there's resistance, of course, because
I'll give you a real life scenario. Just 2 days ago, I was picking my son up from his school, right? And the radio was on, and the radio DJ was talking about people wanting to switch to a 4-day working week. It's compared to what people do now, 5 days or 5.5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So they were talking about the problem, which is fine. People are getting too tired, working 9 to 5, get caught up in the jam, going to work at 5, 6 a.m. and coming home at 7, 8 p.m. and you just don't have the energy or the time to do anything else, So you waste 5 days a week doing the same thing to survive or to make the money. But there was no solution presented. So I asked my son, I said, look, do you agree that working 4 days a week, it's better? You have more time for your family and friends and do whatever you are passionate about. But what is the solution? And that talk show did not present it at all. So I told my son, who I've been talking about TVP before, I said, well, obviously the solution, it's automation. You need to automate as much as you can and free up the humans. One very good example is, you have the ATM machines, right? Is that what you call them? The cash dispensers?
Automated teller.
The teller, yeah. So before the invention of the ATM, if you want to withdraw money, you have to go to a bank and line up for a few hours, in a big city. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And the banks will have to hire more people, and the people will have to work longer hours just to get a single, transaction done or withdrawal done manually. And then ATM has been invented like what, 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's always been there. The idea of automation freeing up humans has always been there. The question is, if you think about doing that to make a profit, then that's the idea of using automation in a different direction. And you would always need the consumers around.
Yeah.
To sustain that kind of approach and direction. And as we all know, in a world that has finite resources, you just can't have that kind of exponential consumerism. It's just not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So regardless of what they do, the end game is that it's not possible. So you have to derive somewhere where you can have a continuation that is ecologically viable. And that's a RBE, as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
the problem.
it's a question of you know, the old being phased out together with their outdated values. And let's see what the new generation is all about.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, what I do is actually I spend a lot of time talking about RBE and TVP to my own kids first. You know, because I mean, I find it pointless to speak to people who have made up their mind that that's not something they're going to worry about.
Yeah.
And I have to respect that. I mean, that's your choice, you know. But as for me, I would very much want to kind of show my kids what the potential of the future can be, what it should be, and you know, not just based on my opinion, but what's scientifically proven and possible.
Yeah, it's good that you do that. You have the most influence over them, and explaining it to someone who's not interested, who's already an adult.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's good because they do respond. They do respond to it in a positive way, because kids, you know, their mind is not so complicated. They see a logic very clearly.
They haven't been well educated yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Indoctrinated by the system.
Exactly. And you know, you get questions like, why don't they teach these kind of things in school?
Yeah.
You know, but schools are not free from their masters.
Yeah, the schools are derived from a system of manufacturing and assembly lines and so on. That's their basic structure.
Yeah, that's a big problem with schools in countries like Malaysia. I'll tell you why. Well, first and foremost, Malaysia, it's a pretty religious country. So religion's always taught in school, national schools. Although it's optional, but the influence is pretty strong. So a lot of you know, the different races, that's where you see the divide. A lot of Chinese and Indians not putting their kids in the Malay schools for fear of such influence or religious extremism. And they're concerned about the standard of education in the government school. So what they do is they put their kids in private school. So there has been a trend in the last 10 years of private schools being very popular in Malaysia and very profitable. You know, to me, it's just a patchwork. It's a short-term solution, because now you're creating a divide between the rich and the poor. Where the rich are able to send their kids to private school and the poor are left behind. So what about the poorer Chinese kids or the poorer Indian kids that can't afford to send their kids to this international school or private school? And that's still the majority. So you haven't solved anything. You probably solved about 10% of you know, kids that are non-Malay going to supposedly better schools to be educated, but overall, it's still the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good example of they have limited options and they're all based on money.
Yeah. So you know, nowadays you have parents that go around and they're very proud of their kids being in international school or private school. That's the situation we have today. That's the value that we have today. And I tell my family, you know, I say, look, wouldn't it be better if you have parents that actually say, how unlucky we are that not all children get the same level of education.
Yeah.
So two very different point of view, which is very easily distinguished as to which is based on a long-term vision and which one is a short-term solution.
Yeah, based on self-interest, not social interest. It's
Yeah.
two different paradigms.
Correct. So it's very much about the self, the social status, and to fight for a differential advantage for your kids. When that's not what they want, you know. That's not what the kids want. That's what the parents want.
Yeah. Kids today they have a much different attitude.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a child does not have that mindset of wanting to be somebody powerful, or you want that differential advantage over your friend. You know, all you want to do is get along with your friend, have a good time, and feel free to do what you want and learn what you want.
Yeah.
So it's the parents' mindset, not the kids. So the whole education system has been built to cater to what the parents want.
Yeah.
Not so much for the kids.
Yeah, it's very institutionalized.
Yep.
Very hard to change too, especially in the US. There's all kinds of financial interests involved, unions.
Definitely. You know, I was put in a private school when I was growing up. And when I left school, I mean, I felt different. I mean, I had feelings in me that I never had when I was in a normal school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you tend to kind of pick up that habit of wanting to be at par with your friends in terms of how much money you have, what you spend on, you know, your cars and stuff like that, because the environment is just so.
Yeah.
And the standard of education was not really great. It wasn't that much better than a normal school.
Interesting. Well, Stephen, do you have anything else?
Sorry, I had to get some water.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I just realized you couldn't hear me. We're just talking about private schools and so on.
Oh
and
yeah,
was just
I could
saying-
hear from the speakers here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That's good.
Mm,
I should
yeah.
get one, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can hear from this distance.
You can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Faintly, but I can hear. So yeah, problem with schools. You see, if you find somebody with a huge library of books right at home, it's impressive for most people. But it's just a matter of what kind of minds wrote those books. That's I think the big problem we have. If and different organizations have been wanting to change the system, right? They've had the same discussions, or maybe they think they're offering something new on the table, when but they don't realize that they're coming from the same kind of mindset or worldview, or yeah, worldview or mindset about the world. So they can not really offer anything new. And one of the very difficult things that Fresco would talk about is, metaphysics. And I would propose that we talk about it next Sunday maybe, because all our efforts in trying to educate people, I think, really revolves around this. This this is this 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 is all about understanding how the world works. And if people still think that there's really a space for metaphysics in life, then that's a really big problem. That's what's been causing all the mess.
That's true. I mean, I think, it's something it's a tool, not a very good one, which is very effective in getting the attention of the young generation. It creates like a alternate universe for you to escape to. Just like the metaverse,
The metaverse.
Yeah, I that's one of the most ridiculous thing that I feel that can go very wrong in this world.
Why do you think that?
It takes you so far away from reality.
Metaverse, you mean like meta or metaverse?
Yeah, metaverse in general. I mean, having a virtual office and having yourself being in there, spending so much time building these spaces up. I don't know. I just don't see how that's gonna bring us closer to nature and reality. I just don't see it.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned nature, because when people take a vacation or they go hiking and you ask them, why do you do that, and they'd say to be with nature or something like that. And so now people think that they are separate from their environment or from nature itself, and in fact you're a part and parcel of the whole thing. There's no separation between you and the world around you. So see, this is a product of this idea called this misconception of metaphysics, because when you have like when you think that things can exist in a vacuum or something, come out of nothingness and magically appear and be alive, so that's a product of, that's a really an indication of this very old outdated understanding of the world. And that one of the products is also the idea of free will, and this system, our society is built on this idea of free will or metaphysics cohabiting with or coexisting with physics. So yeah, a lot of problems arise from that. So like when you punish somebody for doing something bad, it's like
in a world where you can believe in anything or say anything you want, that does not have any reference to the law of physics, yeah, you can feel false sense of security and freedom, but that's not reality.
Yeah. Well, like the system is really magical on its own, right? Like you produce a product and you think that you can attach a value to that just as if it were just an entity, and the life of that product is limited as an entity, and like as if the rest of the world is insignificant to the product's being or life. And so in the same way, our assessment of the causality of things or a certain entity or person is as limited as the limits of that person's body, like maybe the skin or what the encapsulation. But so there's a whole host of problems in people's understanding of the world, or how the world works. And we're still really, like, maybe 99.99% of the world's population is still stuck in that kind of understanding. Like you can just add value to, like, say for example, you bought a piece of egg for $1 or something, or 50 cents or whatever, and then you buy and sell stuff, right? So you resell it at a price of maybe with a 100% increase. So you got like what from the 50 cents you sold it for $1 and you made a profit of 50 cents. But where did you get the 50 cents from? So it's magical. It's metaphysics, and it's allowed in the system. And that's why the system's inflationary. It's magical. It's not related to reality. It's far detached or removed from the laws of
it's
nature.
it's a kind of simulated reality. I mean, if you want to escape from reality and get into something else, you can, because that's a form of simulated reality that you can basically do anything or be anybody, start new,
Yeah, like when you think you got the soul or your mind is not really physical, that's all understandable, right? But or you got people have different ideas of consciousness they get. So I mean, like personally, we all go through that kind of indoctrination, right? It's hard to undo that. It's hard to free ourselves from that. So I think, once again, like what Fresco would say, we all need to undergo cerebral enema, flush all the garbage we've accumulated.
Well, you're not going to get that in the metaverse, that's for sure.
What do you think of the metaverse, though, Cliff? Let's ask Cliff what he thinks about the metaverse.
I think it's not something created or controlled by Facebook, first off. It's pre-Facebook, but I think it will have a lot of different uses. It's hard to say what it will turn out to be, but I think people in general will start existing and being in different virtual spaces more and more
I think
as
it's
the
just
technology evolves.
I think I'm thinking of it as a great move to organize things, or your ownership of all these different social media outlets or whatever else. And so you got centralized database for, and they're all connected, though whatever data or personal data is found somewhere, and you can just, they're easily, because you own them anyway. You own all these different outfits. So
Yeah.
it's centralized. So you increase your profit by doing that. See, and your ownership is just, it's just centralizing things. And you call it one name, it's Meta.
Yeah, just preparing everyone for the eventual total collapse.
I don't know, or somewhat some kind of control there, of data, basically of data. Basically, this they're making money off people, so information.
Yeah.
So
it seems to be just an evolution of social media, gaming, and the new economy, the new work from home economy that has started, evolving over the pandemic.
So they're also maybe upscaling the profiling of people and stuff. And once again, it all boils down to the money they can make out of that. Because they can easily feed you with the stuff you already like or something. It's Google has been doing it now. Facebook, Facebook's been doing it too, and everybody else.
It will be like a curated, digitized replica of our world today. You know, just easier to meet with people,
it's easier to target
do business. People. And they have real estate and space in there that will have its own value. It'll be integrated with cryptocurrencies,
Yes.
And all of the crypto-based platforms, these blockchain structures, all that will be integrated in it, and it'll just become more advanced and easier to access through goggles, and then maybe eventually without even using them. And then one day we'll plug something in the back of our head and go to the metaverse and live there for a while.
Like in the Matrix.
And you'll be able to exist in it as another person, be whoever and whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know about that, but
I mean, as if it already didn't happen.
Well, it'd be good if you have schools in such
virtual
a virtual world that everyone has free access to. That would be a good thing.
I mean, that's what Fresco had in mind, right? To bring the information or schools to people free of charge.
Right. So that would be, to me, a good project in the metaverse, if there's such a thing for it.
Education, I mean, you'll have to really remove money from the equation to achieve that. Yeah, the only way to achieve that is to remove money from the equation, because for as long as you have money, then they're all
all these large corporations are one way or the other participating in all kinds of charity. So why not do?
I mean,
maybe
the intention is pure. I don't know, but it's still, we don't legalize this.
It's an attempt to justify what they.
Why are you doing?
Yeah, but use that money, create something in the metaverse that's accessible to everyone worldwide, to the kids, and you have the same quality of classrooms everywhere. Well, that'd be fair,
We already have Wikipedia and whatever else, Why don't we update that into something like a virtual classroom?
Yeah, you do it as a classroom where you have interaction with the kids, even if it's like for 1 or 2 hours a day. That'll be enough. That'll be fair, right?
Or use AI as teachers,
Yeah, AI it will get there, automation in education anyway.
Yeah.
like say it would seem really interactive and stuff like that. So maybe you'll have an option or a what's this a system in added feature in the computer for tactile sensation or something like two people could.
Well, I mean, it'd be cheap to get high quality education globally. You know, all you need is a screen, computer, and you can do the kind of interactive classrooms in a remote area in Africa, for example. Why
like
not?
for instance, if I had like a rare rock or stone or gem in my hand, would you like to feel it? But we were talking on the computer, and hey, there's like a robotic arm somewhere that the other person could control, and okay. And,
Well, I mean, you know, you get the kind of supercomputers that Tesla is talking about just to make automobiles. So
they can,
where the supercomputers for education?
we will get there soon.
You know,
Hopefully.
Yep.
And now they'll be using what they call quantum computers. By then,
Yeah.
we'll have used.
They're already available, but just
Yes.
in very limited form.
Our capacity.
Yeah.
well,
But
we have to outgrow the need to attain a differential advantage over somebody else.
Yeah.
That has to be detached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta get going soon. I just remembered I had something coming up, but as far as TVP going, taking advantage of the metaverse, they could do that and use it to create their own city where people could go and interact and learn things, walk through the city, go in buildings and learn all about all of the things that Jeff talks about.
See what the potential of the future can be.
Yeah, it could be a real good tool, but you gotta have money to do it. Yeah, you gotta be funded, and or else have a lot of people working for you for free.
Yeah, so otherwise remove the money from the equation to really achieve that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I mean, maybe initially we will need the money to implement it, and then ultimately remove the money.
Well, money is going to be removed one way or the other.
Because of automation.
You know, it's a question of time.
Not in our
Because,
time.
you know, unless, I mean, we want a system that's going to collapse eventually. So that's reality.
Yeah.
It's all up to us. It's all up to the people.
I feel it's really up to us, but more importantly, the future generations, what they're going to do.
Yeah, but the generations that are still not here. So
the world reflects on the generations that are here.
Yes, that came before.
And before, right? So it is what it is. But the future is going to be different. So that's going to be very much dependent on the future generation and not so much us.
Yes. Okay. On that note, shall we pick a shall we have John pick a page from the book of quotes by Fresco?
Would you like to, John?
You know what? I haven't read that book. I've read his quotes, but I haven't bought that book.
I will buy the book maybe by November, December.
Yeah. Well, if you want a quote, I'll give you a quote.
Well, there's 201 of them.
This shit has got to go.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
fine.
page.
This shit, it's got to go.
That's
Simple as
page
that.
what?
That's
That's-
page 69.
Right?
Right here. No.
Really?
Good number too, but yeah, this shit's got to go eventually. And it's,
Yeah, well.
you know, whether we like it or not, it is going to go. It's not up to humanity. That's the
Yeah.
problem. You know, it's whether we still want to be around.
Well, but if you just let things be, you know, it's not gonna happen soon. We have to expedite stuff, things.
I mean, we do what we can. We do what we
Yeah.
do. Ultimately, the decision is still going to be based on the generations to come.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully they will be able to make it happen. So what's the page, John?
Well, 69, right?
No, we've tried that before. I mean, pick another.
Well, I haven't read the book, so I can't give you the page.
Oh, it's from 0. You can pick a number from 0 to 200.
All right. So I'll just pick a number.
Yes.
Yeah.
Page 7.
Okay.
7.
Now we have a 1-digit number.
Yeah. Start small.
Start small.
All right, page 7. This is from What the Future Holds Beyond 2000 from the Nichols College lecture. All human behavior is lawful. The reactions and values which all people have are perfectly lawful to the environment that they come from. Every human being is perfectly well adjusted to where they're coming from their background and experience. That's a very common thing he talked about.
Yes, it's a staple. It's a standard thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Whether the new generations to come are going to be well adjusted to those kind of things.
Yeah.
To the concepts presented by Fresco. It's not, I mean, Fresco did a great job of making things easy to understand, right?
Yeah.
I wish I were Fresco because I find it hard to express ideas.
He liked to talk in stories.
Yes,
Just
that's
give
why people
examples.
listen. Yeah.
So people
Listen
don't just
really.
hear what he's saying, they have something more that it's more relatable.
Relate to, yeah.
And when it comes to what he just said about environment, I like to say that you are shaped by your environment, but you also create an environment for others around you too, because you then project your past and background to the people around you. And so it perpetuates itself. And it's really hard, like he says, to break out of that, to change your values, because you're bound by your culture and your background, where you came from. So you need outside ideas. And he somehow broke out of his culture and saw things very differently. And that's the main reason why we understand the things he spoke of. We found a path to break out of our reality, but most people haven't. And just comes down to education. He was self-educated and educated a lot of other people, and then it spread out. So you don't just get influenced by your environment, but you also influence others.
Yeah, because you are part of the environment. That's why.
Yeah, you're a part
you
of
are
the environment.
your other people's environment.
Yes. Yeah. So if a whole bunch of people were only around people like us, that would be their environment. It'd be different. So it's a lot of work to be done
So,
still.
yeah, and a part of the solution he has for people who are delinquents maybe, or erring people in general, is that you have to surround that um that erring person with the kind of with good people or something. You know, you are your own, the company you keep, as they say. So
yeah.
I think I just want to add that Fresco was able to break out from his old environment, get away from it all, and experience life without certain influence that you commonly find in modern society.
well, he would also say that he still had like the primordial slime, like traces of his old self or environment and culture. I mean, that doesn't just go away as easily, right? I mean, there's still parts of us that are.
Yeah, I mean, what's in us from previous influence of environment, it's always going to be there, I guess. It's just how much you draw from it in your everyday life, whether you can detach yourself from such influences, expose yourself to new influences that are more beneficial, and then learn how to lean towards these kind of positive influences. Yeah, and a change of environment it's quite important.
Yeah.
Change of company of brands or.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's what regional coordinators are trying to do, is change people's environment by spreading these ideas. It's all just ideas and education, that we have a tremendous amount of other influence to overcome. That's why it's going to be so slow.
Yep.
But
you know, you get I always hear this from Sue. Sue has always reminded me that, you know, if you're not careful, you're going to be pulled back to the real life pretty easily.
Yeah.
Which is pretty vicious. It's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. That's why meetings like this really help.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you know, I that's one of the reasons why I want to jump onto as many meetings as I can, because I mean the last few months I've been doing things that you know, it wasn't something that I would have done given a choice, but that's work and money and kids and all that. So, but I think as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm pretty happy with how much time I allocate to the real world out there, and how much time I allocate to my own space and my kids.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain things you do that you're not really proud of. Yeah. But,
yeah, I mean, you know, you don't see a purpose in that long term. You know, it's all short term solution, but you just have to get over it.
Yeah. Like just regroup with the people your kindred, so to speak. Regroup and get the boost of I don't know, encouragement and energy again, or inspiration. I don't know.
So how come you're not in the TVP RC group?
I had to rest. I had so many things on my plate, in my hands. Yeah.
Were you there? Were you an RC for Philippines before?
I was with the OP. So
OP. All right. Okay. Yeah, I
the
mean,
orientation.
Yeah. So anyway, we're still we're still doing things that regional coordinators are.
Yeah, we should. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. This is still a volunteering and spending your own money for the cause. And yes. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna do this for as long as I live. So
good for you.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But Cliff here says he might disappear.
All right. Yeah.
I think I just said you never know. Or
Yeah, he might.
You know?
He might. He might.
It's possible.
It's possible for everyone. I mean, yeah. It's, somewhere along the way, life really takes over. I mean, life happens or shit happens, and so yeah.
It's happened many times before.
I know. To you or to friends, and so.
Yeah, I think one way or another, I'll still always be advocating for a more sustainable planet and system and trying to do what's good, whether it's for that or not. I'd rather help make TVP itself sustainable so it doesn't go away, because it's not a for sure thing. Roxanne's not going to be here forever, and everybody passes on eventually. So will the idea live or will it die away? Remains to be seen.
Well, if a better option is put out there, then so be it. Because so far this has been like the best solution we've had for the longest time.
Well, it's certainly the most logical to me.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why it appeals to us, is because it seems like the most direct, most logical way to organize the world. But you have to be, if you're a real scientific thinker, you have to look at it objectively and say, if something better comes along, then you should adopt that as well. But I don't see that happening. And who knows, we might see something in the future. I was just thinking that is a hybrid, and it has elements of an RBE, but with elements of what we have today as well. You never know, especially with cryptocurrency and other things that we can't even predict.
But you see,
it could be anything.
But you see, there will always be a computer at the core of this, so it's still Fresco.
Yeah, I don't see computers ever going away.
Yeah,
computers are going to be
computers will just evolve. Yeah,
they'll be more powerful, and then they'll start being surgically implanted in our brains, and then we're already seeing the Internet of Things,
super AI at the core of this. Yeah,
maybe
we'll have quantum computers everywhere.
In the near future, yes.
And we'll be assimilated by well, there will be an interface between people and machines.
Yeah.
So, and from there we will evolve still, the rest. It's just
And Ray Kurzweil predicts that eventually machines will start to take matter and turn that into computational devices. And
nanotechnology will take care of that.
Yeah, he sees it as the universe will wake up. That will be the universe waking up when matter starts to be converted into computational computers, machines. And
but
that's
isn't it already
out there?
But isn't it already the case for the longest time now? I mean, like we're just mimicking what we already experienced.
Yeah. Well, he explains it as intelligence will be spreading. Intelligence will spread throughout the universe through nanobots and so on, but machines will turn much of the matter of the universe into computation. And it will be like the universe becoming aware of itself.
Consciousness. Like this is so fun of the consciousness. It will just be consciousness everywhere. You know, I mean, like it's reminiscent of this old spiritual idea of consciousness, but with technology in the mix. So
it's very futuristic.
I very much disagree with that, because I think the universe is very much indifferent to the ambition of man, like what Sagan say.
Yeah.
Our time in the universe is just too short, insignificant to even go there.
Yeah. He also says that we as people are a way for the universe to know itself. Like we're just a little pocket. We're from the universe, but we also are becoming aware of the universe. So
through us,
if you're a part of the universe, then and you're becoming aware of the universe, then that's the universe becoming conscious, right? That's
in a way, yeah. I mean, we are made of star stuff and all that, but
yeah.
But you see, there still is the problem of using these outdated terms like consciousness and stuff. So eventually that will be deleted from our vocabulary and will be replaced with something else, because you know it still carries with it the old notions and understanding and stuff. It's like love and etc. So because with language comes the consciousness of that reflects time and culture and everything. So
I guess we're gonna really know, find out when we die, don't we?
Do you have like how do you know when you die? I mean, how are you conscious when you die?
Yeah, I'm gonna reserve judgment on all that, and you know, eventually it's gonna happen. Then you find out.
Unless you have like a soul that
whatever you want to call it, nothing that I can determine now, nothing that I'm going to judge now. You know, it's going to happen to everyone. So
yeah, we can be sure of death for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
Only, but what happens during that time, we can't be.
Well, physically, if we talk physically, you go back to the universe. Parts of you, at least.
We're already the universe, so why go back when we're already here?
Physically, out there.
Okay.
And, you know, and not just within our biosphere. That's what I mean. Out there, the element
change form.
Change form.
That form.
You're changing form.
Yeah.
Yes. So
every part of you was already here before. It's just changing form, and you ate food that was something else, and it became you, and then it goes back. It's all
displacement.
It's one thing.
It's all displacement.
It goes back to what Einstein said about energy. You can't create or destroy it. It can only change form, and that's exactly what's happening.
Yes, that's what really also someone like Fresco would say.
It's true. I mean, we are in a certain state or form through evolution, and that enables us to do and feel and behave the way we do now. What comes after, to me, it's definitely different, but we just don't know what is it yet.
Are you like, would you be the kind of person who would hope for a extension of life or whatever, reincarnation?
Reincarnation?
Yeah.
I've thought about that when I was younger. You know, you always want to live forever. You don't want to die. But I think it would be good to at least experience what's going to happen after life.
Why die when you can live long, very long?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the word die is just basically a word used to describe that life ends for you as a living being on this planet. But what happens after is worth experiencing, if at all you are able to.
Would you like to stay alive for like 1,000 years or more?
No, given a
No?
choice, no.
No, why not?
I would like to be something else, and perhaps have the opportunity to come back to being human.
Okay, if something else like
And
experience something else.
that's probably possible, given that that's how we come to be anyway.
So some people would find
Yeah.
it boring, I think, to live like really, really long. But what if you could travel galactically
No, I
or
mean
interstellarly?
the question is, do you want to live long enough to be a human being when we become interstellar beings? So, I mean, the technology might come where you have the ability to live as long as you want, maybe cell regeneration and stuff like that. And
Would
then
you
you
like
have
working on it.
Yeah, and then you have a question of overpopulation. Are we ready to be interplanetary species and stuff like that? I mean, if everything was in place, then if I had that choice, I might say yes. But saying yes doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that I would live forever, right? But if the opportunity was there for me to experience that amount of time as a human being, I would say yes, because of the possibilities that is in front of us.
Yeah.
So it all depends, right? What's available. But life is life, and the fact that you have one life makes it more worthwhile to live life to its fullest now.
Okay, that's why we do what we do, right? And okay, I think it's time for us to
Call it a day.
call it a day or a night.
Yeah.
It's night. Yeah. Morning.
It's almost 1 in the afternoon here. So
Yes, and you need to eat, right?
yeah, I need to eat and be somewhere at 2. So
Yeah, I got work at 7 in the morning, so
all right.
all right.
Well, it was
Well,
a
it's
good
been-
conversation. It got interesting there at the end. I was really into that.
Yeah. Have a good time tonight. Thanks to
Yeah.
you guys.
We'll
Looking
talk next
forward.
week maybe and talk more about the AI stuff.
And more about investing too, because a lot of people are interested in that. So
Okay.
I was with the friends while climbing, and I would see this friend of mine is into long-term investing, and I told him, "Hey, we talked about long-term investing a few weeks ago or something. So what time is it?" Blah, 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 blah. I sent him a link, and maybe he went home late tonight, so maybe next time he might be able to join in. So
Yeah, something I'm really interested, because it gives you your life back if you do it long enough and well enough. Gives you your time. No longer being stuck at a job. That's the goal. Retire. So,
That's true. It's good to explore the options out there.
Yeah.
As we stumble along.
Yeah. We need to play the game well. I'm hoping to. Yes, I'm hoping
if you're
also
gonna be
to.
forced. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm working on well, getting around I mean, getting myself to do investments. So hopefully,
Yeah, well, if you're gonna be in the monetary system and you're gonna play the game, then let the money work for you instead of working for the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's the essential goal of investing, is putting your money to work for you, so you don't have to.
Yep.
yes.
And
Okay.
if it were easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
You gotta work your ass also to
Well,
be able to invest.
don't be too ambitious.
Yeah. It
Take it
doesn't have
one
to be
step.
complicated. Just follow basic concepts that are proven, and you don't have to think about it a lot.
Yep, one step at a time.
Yeah. You have to be systematic and be consistent more than be smart. Yeah. So we'll talk more next week.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Bye, everyone.
It's
Have a
been
nice
great.
life.
Yes, and
I
we
keep
extension
catching you all.
Yes.
Good night. Good
Take care.
day. Take care.